let's talk about Brexit again. Now, there's nothing major new to say about this. We seem to be going round in a circle. Theresa May has spent the last 2 years dicking about. She's only decided to get serious about Brexit in the last month or so. So there is a no deal solution. There is no trade aligned with Canada, which, if I remember rightly, was something that the Leave campaign kept bringing up. We don't have trade with Canada. We still don't have trade with Canada because Theresa May and her government haven't been making those deals. We have Sajid Davis, who has done nothing to ensure immigrants about their status in this country. And when he first took over from Amber Rudd during the Windrush scandal, which originally was down to Theresa May, but Amber Rudd took over for it, and then Sajid Davis has just tried to hush everyone up about it. Cover-ups upon cover-ups, really. He originally said something I like, which seems to be the running mantra of the Conservative Party, saying something that's actually good. And what he said was, European immigrants in this country don't have anything to worry about. They're not going to get turfed out. They're not getting kicked out. It's not going to happen. We value the immigration. Okay. I mean, on paper, that sounds fantastic, because actually think about it. If we lost all of our immigrants today or tomorrow, even next week, we'd be screwed. Factories depend on a lot of immigration workers. Healthcare in this country depends on a lot of immigrant workers. The NHS and the moronic new bill, the moronic new thought is that you could push forward a ton of new nurses just by cutting down education time. Well, that hasn't really worked out, because we're very aware that being a nurse is an incredibly difficult job. It does take a lot of time to be fully qualified. You can't really rush it, and not as many people in this country want to be a nurse to make up the numbers that we would lose just with EU immigration alone, which we're already actually suffering from because the government isn't clear. Now, when I looked at embassy websites this morning, because why not, there seems to be a running theme, and that is whether it's Belgium, whether it's Poland, whether it's pick a country, all of these embassies, all of these embassy websites are all telling people the exact same thing. Keep hold of your documents, because we don't know what the UK is going to do, and we cannot count or predict what the UK is going to do. Markets in general do not like things that cannot be predicted. So, the UK market is going to get incredibly weak. Theresa May's shambles of a government where people stepping down and stabbing her in the back, left, right and centre, it doesn't put out a strong message. And the fact that she was even willing to even think of the idea of running away for a summer recess early, just so that she wouldn't have to face a vote of no confidence, which, while that does say a lot about Theresa May, isn't necessarily a done deal. There's nothing that actually says a vote of no confidence can't take place during the summer recess. Let's face it, if enough politicians actually turn up to Parliament even during a summer recess, there could be a vote of no confidence, which personally I think there should be. I think Theresa May is incompetent. She's not incompetent in terms of Donald Trump, who couldn't run a small family business, went bankrupt 6 times, and in the space of one day will admit to breaking multiple felonies. Theresa May is incompetent in the fact that she doesn't want to do the job, but she wants the paycheck and she wants to benefit her husband's wealth. Now, I keep bringing this up because since she took office, She has made her husband multiple millions. The bombing of Syria had nothing at all to do with human rights. If she cared about human rights, then she would actually feed children in this country. She wouldn't have taken away something like 60,000 school meals from school children. She wouldn't sit by and idly let Esther McVeigh destroy people who depend on benefits. She wouldn't sit back and idly laugh in her mansion as 169% rise in homelessness has taken place, as more and more working families depend on food banks, as 4.1 million children are forced into poverty. So no, it was not on human rights. That is an absolute BS lie she came out with. She bombed Syria because it made her husband £4 million. With all the contracts and the investments that he has, in particular missile companies, that's what he got. That's the bonus that he got. And it wasn't just him, it was everyone else who had interest in the same companies. But it doesn't stop the fact that every action she's taken has just been to make money. And when it comes to relationships with the US, this is pure speculation, but given that the Conservative Party only wants to sell the NHS and not actually protect it, the fact that we now have Liam Fox coming out saying anyone who is against selling the NHS to Donald Trump is anti-trade, well, given that Donald Trump has made personal attacks on the NHS, as far as forcing pharmaceutical companies in America to raise their prices on the drugs that they sell to the NHS. Again, this is just speculation, but perhaps she's just in bed with Trump because it's an easier way of dismembering the NHS. Again, she's not incompetent in the fact that she has no idea what she's doing. She very, very clearly knows what she's doing, but it is not governing a country. It is selling it off bit by bit. And this comes to the crux of the issue with Brexit. Regardless of which aisle you stand on, and regardless of what you think of this particular agreement that we have, the white paper that is supposedly divisive but really is pathetic, it comes down to we do not have a government who actually have an interest in doing what's best for the country. David Cameron called the election. Okay, he was forced to, but he called the election. And now he's on the continent taking up an EU pension. Nigel Farage comes back and forth, but you know what? He's still taking an EU pension. If he was a man of principle, given how vigorously he fought for the UK to leave the European Union, he would donate that pension into a charity. Maybe a homeless charity. Maybe into food banks, given that there are now food banks who are specifically aiming at food for children because they know damn well children are suffering in this country. But he doesn't. He, like Theresa May, is only in it for themselves. A government like this will never give what's best for the people, and it is not Theresa May who will suffer at the end of this. Yeah, she might have a few bad days in Parliament. Big whoop. At the end of that, she then goes home to her mansion. And when she's done being Prime Minister, she will retire in her mansion. But it's the rest of us who suffer. Those who have to work. Those who work in the factories. Those who work in care. Those who work in offices. Those who work for the public sector. Either in council buildings, for the police force, for the fire brigade, for the NHS. It is us who is going to suffer. So the old line, the soundbite of Brexit means Brexit, I'm sorry, but that's absolute bullshit. There is no contingency plan, and right now we have a government that quite clearly doesn't give a fuck.